Residents on the Central Coast will notice a change for the better in their police force, according to the district's new superintendent, Mr. Jeff Hammond. An improvement in services for the public and an upgrading of facilities for the staff are the keynotes. A new district has been formed, with 2 divisional headquarters being located at Wyong and Gosford. Gosford also has a new headquarters, which centralises the many departments that have been scattered around the city. The new building will be officially opened by the Minister for Police, Mr. Peter Anderson, next month. The initial impact of the changes will be 2 24-hour police stations at Wyong and Woy Woy and the recruitment of 59 additional staff for the area. The Chief Superintendent at Gosford, Mr. Jeff Hammond, explains why the changes have been made.
Well, our department has acknowledged the need for extra police in this district for some years now. The opportunity of having a building such as this that we're standing outside has afforded us opportunity of bringing our troops from fragmented areas into Gosford, and also gave us opportunity of opening Gosford as a district, upgrading the area as a police district, and this is quite important to us.
The Richmond report recommends the complete closure of Peat Island Hospital on the Hawkesbury River and the relocation of its 150 patients and 150 staff. The staff say this would be detrimental to the patients' health, and they're sceptical about the department's assurances of their job security. So today they decided to fight back. Members of Parliament from the adjacent electorates were invited for a tour of the hospital in an effort to gain support for the Save Peat Island campaign. The Minister for Health, Mr. Brereton, was represented by the Regional Director of Health, Dr. Campbell, and only 4 of the MPs invited attended. The unions are particularly concerned about the consequences of the Richmond report, as Terry Canolti from the Health and Research Employees Association explains.
The Minister guarantees their employment. The report suggests that they'll be employed, but the reality is that they're talking about moving the residents away from this hospital to places unknown as yet, which could be as far away as, say, Lismore, and the staff will have to go with them. Now, the staff live in this district and obviously will not be able to take up a lot of those positions, so there'll be no job there for them.
The staff say that most patients simply couldn't cope if they were placed in community hostels. This view is often reiterated by the patients' parents. Mr. Stuart Mansfield's son Peter has been a patient in institutions for many years. Peter is severely retarded and his father says he needs constant care. Care, Mr. Mansfield says, he wouldn't receive in a hostel.
We have friends that have various children in them and quite close to us in the Hornsby area, and they're very dissatisfied with that particular situation. It's just not on.
After the tour, a meeting was held to spell out the staff's grievances. They say the report is full of inconsistencies and inadequacies, which they say boils down to a purely cost-cutting exercise.
The staff here say that a decision has already been made on the sale of Peat Island Hospital. In fact, they're sceptical as to whether the residents will actually be moved into community-based centres or whether they'll merely be transferred to other hospitals. They say it's an infringement of the rights on people who have no political power.
Hard on the heels of yesterday's union meeting considering the effects of the dockyard's loss of the ferry contract is the bad news. 28 jobs to go next week and more retrenchments to come. A dockyard spokesman said today that monthly reviews will be made from here on in as the shipbuilding component of the dockyard is wound down and the general engineering and ship repair section consolidated. No one's saying just what the final total of retrenchments will be. That depends very much on what future business can be found for those sections of the dockyard still operating.
afternoon at St Joseph's High School at Merriweather, a book of stories and poems written by Hunter school children was released. The book is the outcome of a Year 9 Writers' Conference held last year at the Newcastle College of Advanced Education. Students at the conference were advised and encouraged by Sydney author Mary White, who instilled in them the importance of critical rewriting. According to a spokesman from the Hunters English Teachers Association, the writing is of a high standard, indicating that practice is the only way to develop writing skills. The association hopes local schools will now restructure their curriculums to allow more time for creative writing. The students themselves say the Writers' Conference was not only useful but enjoyable too.
We sort of shared ideas. I learnt that there was all different ways of sort of writing stories. Made a new kind of atmosphere for everyone to work in. I think that's why we got such, different and, some good stories out of it.
It's sort of given me an incentive to write more.
The figures are compiled from CES offices at Cessnock, Muswellbrook, Maitland, Charlestown, Broadmeadow and Newcastle. In 2 years, the number of people registered at these offices has doubled from 12,613 to 26,621. Today, an occupational breakdown of these unemployed people was released. Of those registered, 28% fall into the semi-skilled category, normally employed in mining, building and construction, and the metal and electrical trades. Skilled workers in these fields account for about 15%. The next largest category is in clerical administration, which includes shop assistants, office workers and salespeople. 25% registered at the CES belong to this group. It's believed the growing use of computers in accounting, word processing and stock control is a major employment factor. Unskilled manual workers are the next largest occupational group, with 13% jobless. Service occupations such as barbers, hotel workers, kitchen staff and cleaners are the next largest group, with 11% of the total. The figures also give a breakdown of those registered in terms of their educational level. These figures are alarming. 73% of males looking for work do not have a higher school certificate. For women, this figure is 75%. The statistics also show that people are staying unemployed a lot longer. For men, 36% are unemployed for less than 3 months, but a staggering 24% are unemployed for between 6 to 12 months. For women, the figures are similar, with 21% still without a job after 6 months. The figures reinforce the findings of a recent survey conducted by the Hunter Development Board, which showed that Newcastle employers are looking for well-educated, skilled employees with job experience.
Well, we were completely astounded at the action that the Waratah Estate Committee took yesterday. We had no knowledge of it, no forewarning of it, or no consultation about it until 5:15 last night, when I was advised by the town clerk. And as I said, we were absolutely astounded.
In your mind, is Kern still in the project or not?
We feel we are. We maintain that the tender we submitted in July 1981 is still in existence. At no time have we withdrawn that tender, and it is not our intention that we would.
That's the tender to purchase the Waratah site?
That is correct, yes.
So do you feel that council is doing something illegally wrong?
I don't know whether it's illegal or not. I would suggest that perhaps it's unethical to have taken the steps of appointing a project manager to undertake the project when, as we maintain, the existing tender is still on foot.
What happens if Kearns is no longer involved in the Waratah estate? What happens to Kearns in Newcastle?
Well, Kern Land and Kern Sales Proprietary Limited will be closing up our office here, and myself and my staff will be moving back to Queensland, and as far as the other divisions are concerned, I can't say.
Waratah must be a rather disappointing issue in your mind at the moment.
It is. I'm very disappointed. I have spent the last 2 years working on it full time, together with a staff of 5 other people, and to have what happened last night occur is very, very disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. Kern Land will continue to operate throughout Australia and will continue to do developments. But at the moment there's nothing else on the boards for Kern Land in Newcastle.
The Newcastle side is expected to do well in this year's country title following their impressive performance against Parramatta in the Herald Challenge Cup. Last year the side was knocked out in the second round of the country title, but this year they hope to win back the crown they held in 1981. Last night was their final training session before Saturday's big game against Riverina. Captain Rick Patrick is pleased with the side.
Our spirit's very good. We've sat with each other now for probably about 3 months, or maybe even a little bit longer. We've working a few moves and we're just starting to fit in and everyone's pretty keen about each other, yeah.
There seems to be a great feeling towards the coach. He's a pretty popular guy because I guess with that Parramatta game under your belt there is a respect there.
Yeah, Mick's very good. He's sort of bringing Sydney or city football up to the country or so forth, and with Newcastle looking forward to going to Sydney in the near future. It'll be good for the players that are here, plus a little bit of experience for us.
The figures give an occupational breakdown of people registered at the CES. Of those registered, 28% fall into the semi-skilled category, normally employed in mining, building and construction, and the metal and electrical trades. The next largest category is in clerical administration, which includes shop assistants, office workers and salespeople. 25% registered at the CES belong to this group. The figures also give a breakdown of those registered in terms of their education level. These figures are alarming. 73% of males looking for work do not have a higher school certificate. For women, this figure is 75%. The statistics also show that people are staying unemployed a lot longer. A staggering 24% of men registered are unemployed for between 6 to 12 months. For women, the figures are similar. 21% still without a job after 6 months. They reinforce the findings of a recent survey conducted by the Hunter Development Board, which showed that Newcastle employers are looking for well-educated, skilled employees with job experience.
Today's announcement seems to counter criticism that Newcastle misses out on government assistance. Of the $50 million being spent statewide, Newcastle has been allocated some 14%, which Richard Face says is more than a fair share.
We've done very well. Sydney's some 10 times larger than we are in population. Wollongong's nearly comparable. And so it's a very real realisation of the economic and the problems of employment in Newcastle.
This block of 6 two-bedroom units in Merewether is typical of the projects to benefit under the government scheme. Builder Graham McGovern actually made a start to keep his men employed even before final details of the sale to the Housing Commission were completed. Richard Face says much of the credit for Newcastle's share in the Housing Commission scheme goes to local businessmen.
A lot of the experience, and this is some credit to the Novocastrian developers and builders, learned out of 76, 77 when there was a downturn that they didn't have such projects to go on and this could occur again. On this occasion they were well and truly ready, and in the case of the Chapman organisation, which came to me after the last time, they were in a position to go this time.
Mr Face was speaking at Colin Chapman's new real estate centre, which was opened today. $400,000 complex in Hunter Street certainly runs contrary to pessimistic predictions on Newcastle's future. A radical design by Newcastle architect Kevin Snell, the centre takes some new approaches to real estate marketing. Principal Colin Chapman says he believes Newcastle's future justifies the investment he has made.
We're very confident about Newcastle, the Hunter. We believe it's stronger than a lot of people think it is. We believe in its future, and we're confident about that, and we've really put our money where our mouth is, as it were.
The site is in the Hexham Industrial Estate. W. McNamara Proprietary Limited is building a $4 million industrial warehouse to be used by a bulk food distributor. BLF organisers Kevin and Len Brown went onto the site at about 9:30 this morning and tried to stop the pouring of a concrete slab once it had started. Each floor slab contains about 70 metres of concrete.
There's no right to come in and stop the floor halfway through a pour.
So the men are working even though the BLF has asked them not to?
The men are working, yeah, they voted to work. We just continue and finish our pour.
There is a fair bit of pouring to be done here in the next couple of weeks. Do you anticipate any more trouble?
It's very hard to say, but we are anticipating more trouble, yes.
Do you think there's a threat of violence on this site?
No, I don't. I wouldn't like to see it get to a stage where we have violence. We do have police protection if needed. We just won't tolerate violence. It shouldn't get to that stage.
The BLF is protesting the standing down of two of its members on the Parkley prison construction project in Sydney. On that site, McNamara refused to pay the men for the period they were stood down after a concrete pour was interrupted. The Logie is a personal triumph for Jim Sullivan and Gunter Schmidt, who wrote and shot the documentary Last Chance. This afternoon, Jim and Gunter were welcomed home at Aero Pelican by family and friends. The Logies were announced for excellence in television for the 25th year at a televised function in the Regent Hotel in Melbourne.
The winner is The Last Chance, NBN 3 Newcastle.
You've now been found guilty of breaking, entering and stealing. I could sentence you to a term of 14 years, but I'll give you one last chance. I will suspend the sentence.
Last Chance is the story of a young offender being given a taste of jail life in Maitland Jail. The program was introduced to deter future wrongdoings by young or first offenders. It was shot entirely on film and printed in Newcastle. It was edited by talented Alan Stevens and directed by Rob Short.
And just because I've shown you around this program today, don't think that I'll be your friend either. So you'll be on your own next time if you come back. Well, did he get the message? Who knows? I suppose it will take time to tell, but so far it does seem that most of these young blokes do find that one day in jail is long enough.
Accepted by senior reporter Jim Sullivan, NBN 3 Newcastle.
Thank you. This really belongs to a whole lot of people on the NBN team, especially cameraman Gunter Schmidt. And thanks to those prisoners who let us show what their life is like to keep some others out of jail. Thank you. It's nice to win one for Newcastle. Thanks to those prisoners who let us show what their life is like to keep some others out of jail. Thank you. It's nice to win one for Newcastle.
Thanks, John. Good morning. Well, it's quite overcast here at the moment. We've had a bit of rain overnight, although it's starting to clear up now with these westerly winds picking up. Waves this morning, a little bit small, but that's only because of the high tide. Things are going to improve a little bit later on. Wave heights around 1 to 1.2 metres this morning, and although the tide is a little bit high, it's just after high tide at the moment. Conditions will improve over the next 3 hours or so. Most of the waves at all city beaches looking quite good at the moment, and will only get better during the morning. The westerly wind's going to pick up, and by late this afternoon or during tonight it looks like it's going to go around to the south. Conditions tomorrow aren't going to be too good at all. If you'd like to go for a swim today, all of our city beaches are quite safe, and the water in fact is quite nice. Now the forecast issued by the Bureau for today: cool to mild and cloudy day with showers or rain periods. Moderate falls possible over the upper Hunter. Northwest to southwesterly winds at 20 to 30 kilometres per hour. Slight seas on a low swell. Newcastle and Scone both expecting a top today of 22 degrees. And the outlook for Tuesday: showers with southwesterly winds. High tide was at 6:54 this morning, 1.7 metres. Low tide will be at 1:13 this afternoon at 0.3 of a metre. Well, that's our look at the surf and weather this morning. Marish Brothers are running a contest here at Dixon Park today. It's an annual event, and last year it was a contest between Marish Brothers and St Pius. This year it's just a big contest involved with the Marish Brothers School. Should be good surfing. If you've got a chance, slip up here and have a look. Surf-wise, waves around 1 to 1.2 metres, westerly winds and improving conditions with the outgoing tide. Have a great day. A little bit more rain for the upper Hunter, and that's good news. We'll be back again tomorrow morning.